People think that HYBE will end BTS and when that will happen. We need to get into people saying that Kayaking shop apparently speaks about Jimin and JK dating and what that is about. And then we need to get into Jimin apparently getting into some hate. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Let's get into it. Recently, there's been this video that has come out where there is this dance choreography that Jimin has posted, and in the dance practice, he is doing his song Who. And this was obviously filmed before the military enlistment, and people have been making a lot of comments about this dance video, which I think is very interesting. And I definitely want to talk about it. So what happened and what's going on? In the intro, you could actually hear Jimin actually sing, and people were saying that this was impressive as he was dancing. He clearly had a microphone on, and it sounded like he was definitely singing live. And this definitely isn't a shocker because K-pop stars are supposed to do this, and the best way to actually prepare is to have a microphone and actually do it. And so he probably went ahead and did this like 90 times, and then was ready to actually perform it live. And even though Jimin is a dancer and he would normally be able to dance and sing at the same time, he still has to dance and sing to make sure his movements and his voices can line up. For example, if you move in a way that could make your voice waver, and so he has to figure out what that is and what to do if that happens. Now, if you don't remember, not too long ago, Jimin was on stage during an award show, and this was after the awards were given, and he had an opportunity to sing his song like crazy. And then he was mocked as his voice wasn't as good as it normally is. And he was a little pitchy, and people were definitely mocking him a lot and saying that he can't sing. It didn't help the rumors that right before this song, he released a song that was heavily auto-tuned, and this definitely made people think that he can't sing. And Who also has a lot of vocal effects on it too, so people were definitely going to think that he can't sing anyway. And in entertainment, it doesn't matter what the truth is, it matters what people think, because people are in charge of buying tickets and songs. So even if someone didn't do anything bad, but people think it's bad, they still could ask the singer to step down or whatever. So many people felt like this was a clap back with Jimin basically saying that he actually can sing and dance and do all of the things. And I mean, of course he can. I think this idea that a K-pop singer can't sing is extremely ignorant and weird to say because they spend years and years training only for them to allegedly not be able to sing. Like, of course they can sing. And it actually really shows that people will take any opportunity to bring someone down, even when they didn't do anything wrong or anything deserving of being taken down. So people are upset that he can't sing, even though the only proof of him not being able to sing or not sing as well comes from one performance, which everyone has off days. And an idol being expected to be absolutely perfect is a very strange thing to say. Now, since the lawsuit that is going on, people have had a lot of different opinions and speculation on what is going on within the industry. This has led to a lot of conspiracy theories and people making assumptions about things that may or may not even be true. And a lot of these conspiracy theories are made to believe that it would cause the end of BTS or BTS to not have a career anymore. And I totally understand where people are coming from, but they have to understand that a lot of these things are simply just what it is, a conspiracy theory. So what are the conspiracy theories that I'm talking about, and what are people saying? Well, apparently there are fan accounts that, if you're not aware of, host and talk about specific things concerning a group. So for example, there will be a fan account which updates people on what BTS is doing and what the latest updates are. And they'll update like songs, fan events, and even things like fan projects. There have been conspiracies now that some of these fan accounts have been coming from the label. Now, I do want to specify how ridiculous this is, because if you want to specifically say that fan accounts are getting a check from the label or are specifically being paid to promote the group or to promote events about the group, then I would say that you're sadly mistaken, because I have not received a single check from the label, and also some of the other accounts that I know that talk about BTS or other groups are not receiving checks. Now, something that they could get is insider information. If they're in a connection with the label's PR team, they might know some information before it happens. So I'm a part of 3 PR letters, not necessarily one from BTS the label, but I am within lists that other groups that are within labels. And so I get the first knowledge before it comes out to the public which groups are actually going to debut or have a comeback. Given some of the lists that I'm on are much smaller, so obviously I wouldn't have access to the bigger groups or the more legacy groups. However, some of these fan accounts, they're much bigger than I am, and they also have relationships with the label, so they know things before the public knows them, and thus would be able to get those things out faster. And it would kind of seem like they're in a contractual agreement or they're in some sort of financial agreement with the label, when in reality all the label is doing is just just feeding them information. There is no exchange of money. And also these things don't have a contractual agreement. So it's not like if I know an artist is going to debut or come back and I were to say that the new group is bad or were to say anything negative about that new group, it's not like I couldn't necessarily get sued because it's not like I had any contractual agreement to say something positive. It's just I'm getting information before the public gets it. The opinions would still be my own opinion. Same thing with these fan accounts. Now, allegedly, there was one fan account that had copied and pasted some information about BTS and then accidentally put the same letter or the same statement on New Jean's fan account. Now, of course, a lot of people had a lot of conspiracy theories about this because they're saying that this must be someone within the label and someone who is parading as a fan account and really has access to all these different fan accounts and is now feeding people information, like feeding the fans information and really being within the community so that they can curate the narrative of what the group is going to be. Now, this isn't something that would be the worst thing in the world. And I think a lot of people, if they find out that this is a strategy, they might start taking notes and implement this strategy within their marketing strategy. However, I don't think that this is something that is happening to the BTS label. And I don't think this is something they're doing because this would definitely get very expensive. Now, could this be the one person who happens to run two different fan accounts? That to me seems a lot more likely and less conspiratorial than a label staff being hired to curate these accounts. And a lot of people believe because of this that BTS will have an end date and that the label will essentially be ruining BTS's reputation and they will be trying to curate the audience perception of them. And essentially it will eventually be the end of BTS. And that is definitely a bit of a stretch because we don't even know if this rumor is true to begin with. And now we're speculating the end of BTS. Makes no sense to me. It also insinuates that the boys don't actually have real fans that would do this for them. Now, apparently there was this kayaking shop that had been in controversy because there was a leakage of something from their shop. Now, if you are unaware, Jimin and JK apparently have been on a travel show coming up very soon, and the travel show is called Are You Sure? And someone is believed to have gone to, I believe, one of the teasers that had come out where it showed like a place where it seemed like the boys were on a boat or something or were kayaking, and allegedly have found that shop and where you can, I guess, rent boats and stuff from, which is definitely extremely interesting how they found that out because I don't think there were any hints, but I guess you could find stuff from the production team credits, I guess, and location and stuff that's usually there, but someone found it and they went ahead and talked to the staff. They went ahead and bought specific clothing that they thought that the boys were wearing, and a lot of people have speculated that these staff probably saw both Jimin and JK being romantic, kissing or doing whatever. And this to me is a huge stretch because there is no evidence, and I mean literally zero evidence, that the boys were being romantic or touching each other on the boat, and there wasn't even a single person who specified anything like that. This is all just assumptions because now they're seeing a store acknowledge that they were on a boat together, and then there's also seeing that, oh, the boys are together on a boat, so then that must mean it's romantic. And a lot of this is just because they want the boys to be romantic. However, this is just literally an assumption made up in their own head. It's nothing that's actually happened. And I think it's very interesting to say this as if this was 100% true and it actually happened. And if the kayaking shop were to actually ever tell people that this was something that they were doing, I think people would be very angry because it would be exposing them, it would be outing the boys, but also I think the boys would also use this as a way to take legal action. But also, I think the boys would also take legal action. And also my assumption, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is my assumption that all the boys would have everyone sign an NDA. And the reason why is not because they're doing anything shady that they need to sign an NDA, but because anyone who comes in contact with the boys would probably be taking pictures, would be leaking what's happening from the show, and they don't want any of that to come out before the show comes out. So an NDA just stops them from leaking stuff about the show before it comes out. Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks, just leave a comment right here. Love you. Bye.